The late September light filtered through the tall windows of the back bay brownstone, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors I'd spent 3 years refinishing by hand. I adjusted the vase of white hydrangeas on the entry table, their soft petals a quiet rebellion against the chaos I felt brewing inside me. The open house was in full swing. Potential buyers murmured appreciatively as they wandered through the rooms I poured my soul into designing. I just finished explaining the custom crown molding in the dining room to a young couple when I heard it. A voice that sliced through the hum of conversation like a shard of glass. "Nice work playing agent," Eric sneered, his tone dripping with condescension. I turned slowly, my practiced smile tightening as I faced my ex-husband. Beside him, his new wife Lauren smirked, her arms crossed over a designer dress that screamed money I knew he'd spent. "Selling other people's dreams now, huh, Claire?" The jab landed, but I'd spent months steeling myself for moments like this. "Actually," I said, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest, "I just closed a $1.8 million deal with your boss, Tom Hargrove. Funny, he mentioned some changes coming at Pinnacle Realty. Should I put in a good word for you?" Eric's smirk faltered, his sharp jaw tightening as the color drained from his face. Lauren's eyes flicked to him, uncertain, but I didn't wait for a response. I turned on my heel, the silence behind me more satisfying than any retort. It was a small VY Tory, a fleeting taste of the revenge I'd been nursing since the night my world collapsed. But that moment in the brownstone was just the beginning. It started 6 months earlier, in the dead of night, when a text message lit up my husband's phone on our nightstand. The blue glow pierced the darkness of our bedroom, illuminating my face as I stared at the screen in disbelief. 3:47 a.m. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, babe. Just need to wrap things up with Claire soon. You're everything she isn't." My breath caught as I scrolled through the thread, dozens of messages between Eric and his assistant, Lauren, stretching back months, maybe years. I sat frozen on the edge of our California king bed, the one we'd chosen together at a furniture expo in High Point, its carved headboard a testament to the life we'd built. Eric slept beside me, oblivious, his chest rising and falling with the rhythm of a man unburdened by guilt. He'd stumbled in late from another client dinner, levying his phone unlocked, a rare lapse for someone so meticulous. The irony wasn't lost on me. After 16 years of marriage, it was his carelessness that finally peeled back the lie. "Eric," I said, my voice cutting through the silence sharper than I intended. "Eric, wake up." He stirred, blinking groggily before his gaze settled on the phone in my hand. The shift was instantaneous. Confusion morphed into dread as he registered what I held. "How long?" I asked, the words scraping past the lump in my throat. "Claire, I can explain." "How long?" My voice didn't waver this time, though my hands trembled. His silence was louder than any confession. This wasn't a drunken mistake or a fleeting fling. This was deliberately a betrayal woven into the fabric of our life while I'd been busy supporting his career, hosting his colleagues, and believing in the partnership we'd vowed to uphold. I stood, my legs unsteady, and whispered, "I want you out. Tonight." He didn't argue. Maybe he saw the steel in my eyes, the kind forged in the crucible of 1,000 small sacrifices I'd made for him. By dawn he was gone, levying behind the faint scent of his cologne and a house that suddenly felt too big, too hollow. The divorce unfolded with brutal efficiency. Eric hired Daniel Kessler, a shark of an attorney known for chewing through prenups and spitting out settlements. I sat across from them in a sterile conference room on the 17th floor of a downtown Boston high-rise, the Charles River glinting mockingly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The property on Dartmouth Street was purchased primarily with Mr. Bennett's earnings, Kessler stated, his voice as cold as the marble tabletop. Mrs. Bennett's financial contribution was negligible. "I renovated that house," I protested, glancing at my own attorney, a soft-spoken woman named Ellen who'd come recommended by a friend. "I managed every detail, the contractors, the design, the permits. That house is as much mine as his." Eric leaned forward, avoiding my gaze. "Sweat equity isn't the same as financial equity, Claire. You chose to step back from your career. That was your decision, not mine." The truth stung like a slap. I'd left a promising job in brand management at a tech firm to support Eric's ascent at Pinnacle Realty. We'd agreed it made sense, His commissions dwarfed my salary, and his trajectory promised a future we could build together. I'd taken freelance gigs, managed our home, and turned Dartmouth Street into a showcase of Victorian elegance that doubled as a networking hub for his clients. Every dinner party, every restored chandelier, every hand-picked antique bore my mark. And now, according to the settlement sliding across the table, it was all his. "This is theft," I said, my voice breaking as I stared at the numbers. 75 fan tram of the proceeds to Eric, 25 fan tram to me. "It's the law, Claire," he replied, his tone flat. "You should have protected yourself better." 2 weeks later, I stood in the foyer watching Eric and Lauren pack his things. She held my baccarat vase, a treasure I'd haggled for at a Paris flea market during a trip we'd taken for our 10th anniversary. "Careful with that," I said reflexively. Lauren smiled, a brittle curve of her lips. "Eric told me all about your little shopping sprees. Don't worry, it'll have a good home." I clenched my jaw until I tasted copper. They took the art, the furniture, anything Eric's money had technically bought, regardless of who'd chosen it or cherished it. He emerged from his office with a box of files, pausing to glance at me. "Keys are on the counter. Realtor will handle the sale. Goodbye, Claire." He hesitated at the door, his eyes sweeping over the home we'd created. For a moment I thought I saw a flicker of regret. Then he smirked, that dismissive twist of his mouth I'd come to loathe. "You know, Claire, you should have built something of your own instead of playing house all these years. Good luck starting over at 42. The door clicked shut, and I sank to the floor, the weight of loss crashing over me. It wasn't just the marriage or the house site was my identity, my security, everything I'd invested in a future that no longer existed. That night, curled on the window seat where I'd spent countless evenings with a book and a glass of wine, I hit bottom. Boston's skyline glittered beyond the glass, indifferent to my unraveling. My phone buzzed a social media post from a friend, oblivious to the divorce, showing Eric and Lauren at a gallery opening. His arm was slung around her waist, her left hand flashing a diamond I hadn't noticed before. Something snapped inside me, then mended itself into something harder, sharper. If Eric thought I was nothing without him, I'd prove him wrong. If he believed I couldn't rise from this, I'd show him just how wrong he could be. I opened my laptop and typed, "Massachusetts real estate license requirements." 3 days later, I signed the papers to sell the Dartmouth Street house, watching my life reduced to a dollar amount on a closing statement. With my 25 fan tram share barely enough after legal fees, I rented a cramped studio in Dorchester, its peeling wallpaper and rattling radiator a stark contrast to the brownstone's elegance. I enrolled in real estate courses, staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror as I whispered, "Starting over at 42. The woman looking back had shadows under her eyes and a fire in her gut that refused to gut her out. The next 6 months were a blur of textbooks, flashcards, and endless coffee. My real estate license arrived in the mail on a snowy February morning, a small triumph I framed and hung above my thrift store desk. I landed a job at Harborview Realty, a mid-tier firm where my broker, a gruff man named Paul, handed me a chair in the back corner. "Don't expect much your first year," he warned. "Most newbies crash and burn." His words haunted me as I stared at my empty calendar, my essence is shrinking with every rent check. The studio was a downgrade in every sense: laminate counters, stained carpet, a view of a brick wall instead of Boston's twinkling lights. My family didn't get it. "Why not go back to marketing?" my sister Jenna texted. "You were good at it." They didn't understand that this wasn't just about money. It was about clawing my way back, proving Eric wrong, and claiming something that was mine alone. I showed up at the office daily, shadowing anyone who'd let me near. Most agents waved me off. Newbies were threats, not allies. But Margaret Peggy O'Connor, a 60-something veteran with a penchant for Chanel suits and sharp wit, took me under her wing. "You're hovering, darling," she said one morning, peering over her bifocals as I lingered near her desk. "It's annoying." "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I just want to learn." She studied me, her gaze piercing. "Divorcee, I'd wager." "Back Bay, judging by that scarf. Trying to reinvent yourself." I nodded, startled by her accuracy. "Thought so. You've got that look like someone yanked the rug out from under you." "Fine. I need help with an open house on Commonwealth Avenue tomorrow. Be there at 8:30 dressed sharp. Don't talk unless I tell you to. That open house was a revelation. Peggy didn't just sell homes. She sold aspirations. She tailored every pitch, highlighting the rooftop deck to a tech entrepreneur, the original fireplaces to a historian's wife. I watched mesmerized as she read people like open books. Afterward, as we packed up, I asked, "Why'd you mention the alley access to that guy in the gray suit?" "New money," she said, as if it were obvious. "He's desperate to signal he belongs. Old money doesn't care about back entrances if he got staff for that." I was showing him I get it. Peggy became my reluctant mentor, tossing me tasks that doubled as lessons. I helped her with listings. She let me tag along to closings. In return, I taught her the firm's new CRM software, which she cursed like a sailor. "Luxury real estate isn't about houses," she told me one evening, sipping gin in her Mercedes outside a Dula $4 million condo. "It's about what people want to be. Status, privacy, legacy. Figure out what they're chasing, and you've got them hooked." My first sales were Smala Duplex in Quincy, a fixer-upper in Roslindale. The commissions barely covered my bills, but each one felt like a brick in a new foundation. Then one night, scrolling through LinkedIn, I saw it. Eric, grinning in a Pinnacle Realty press release, promoted to Director of Strategic Acquisitions. The man who'd told me I'd never amount to anything was now scouting investment properties for one of Boston's biggest firms. Rage surged through me, but it crystallized into a plan. Not just revenge, something bigger. I'd infiltrate his world, outmaneuver him, and make him see what he'd thrown away. The next day I pitched Peggy. "I want to target executives, finance, tech, real estate development. I know how they think, what they value." I was married to one. She arched a brow. "Specific. Personal too, I bet." "What's the angle?" "I understand them," I said, my voice firm. "I lived it. I can sell to them better than anyone." Peggy didn't pry. She handed me a listing for a loft in the Seaport District. Owners are moving to Singapore. Both C-suite types. "Show me what you've got." I threw myself into it, researching the property and its audience. My marketing plan emphasized the loft's dual appeal. A sleek retreat for downtime, a power base for entertaining. Peggy skimmed my proposal and grunted. "Not terrible. You've got a nose for this." Over the next year I honed my niche. I didn't just sell homes, I consulted. To a biotech VP, I pitched a condo with a home office wired for privacy. To a banker's spouse, I found a townhouse perfect for galas that would crack Boston's social elite. My closing rate climbed, my reputation spread, and every deal fueled my quiet mission to eclipse Eric in the industry he thought I couldn't touch. 2 years after the divorce, I sat in my upgraded one-bedroom in South End, still modest, but with hardwood floors and a sliver of a city VYW. My dining table was a war room. Pinnacle Realty's org chart, annual reports, executive bios, post-its linking names to projects. At the center was Thomas Hargrove, Pinnacle's A58, recently remarried to a younger lawyer named Elise, a golf enthusiast with a taste for understated luxury. A Boston Globe profile quoted him bemoaning the soulless new builds flooding the market. I'd spent months building this dossier, tracking his habits through industry chatter and Peggy's gossip network. Hargrove and Elise were hunting for a home, something timeless yet modern, away from Back Bay's stuffiness. My ticket in. I circled a date on my calendar, the Boston Historic Trust Gala, where Hargrove would accept an award for Pinnacle's preservation of a warehouse turned offices. Eric would likely be there, but I couldn't let that stop me. I begged Peggy for an NVYT, maxed out a credit card on a simple black gown, and rehearsed my approach. At the gala, I worked the room, chatting up architects and donors while keeping Hargrove in sight. When he stepped to the bar, I slid into a conversation with a preservationist he'd been speaking to earlier. "Dr. Ellis," I said, smiling, "your talk on sustainable retrofits was brilliant. I'm Claire Evans, Harborview Realty." As we discussed brick and beam conversions, Hargrove returned. "Dr. Ellis made the introduction. Tom, meet Claire Evans. She's got a real eye for adaptive reuse." Hargrove shook my hand, his grip firm. "Thomas Hargrove, Pinnacle Realty. You know our work." "I do," I said smoothly. Your warehouse project on Congress Street is stunning, those exposed beams with modern finishes? It's the kind of balance Boston needs more of. His interest piqued. We talked market trends for 20 minutes. I dangled insights about luxury buyers CRAVYing heritage with edge, mirroring his own complaints. As we parted, I handed him my card. If you ever want a new take on your home search, I'd love to help. His gaze lingered as I walked away, seed planted. 4 days later, his assistant booked a meeting. In my officea corner space I'd earned after a string of solid sales, Hargrove outlined his VY Shown. A home with history, modern upgrades, space for Elise's legal colleagues and his golf buddies. We've tried 2 agents, he admitted. They keep showing us the same tired listings. They're selling houses, I said. I'd rather understand your life, then find a home that fits it. He hired me on the spot. I dove in, curating options with surgical precision, private tours at dawn to match Elise's trial schedule, commute analyses, even a lighting consult for their art collection. 2 months later I found it. A 19th-century carriage house in Newton, renovated with sleek lines and a putting green in the backyard. Hargrove's eyes lit up in the study. Elise beamed in the kitchen. They closed at Dulaw, $4.2 million, my biggest sale yet. At the signing, Hargrove said, "You got us, Claire, before we even knew what we wanted. I've never seen this level of care." That night, I toasted myself with a glass of Pinot Noir, scrolling to a year-old photo of Eric at a Pinnacle event, hovering near Hargrove like a satellite. The man who'd mocked my potential was now beneath the influence I wielded over his boss. Hargrove had already referred me to 3 colleagues and in invited me to a dinner at their new home. The stage was set, he just needed the right moment to unveil my ascent to Eric. Fate delivered it on a silver platter. Hargrove called me one crisp October morning. "Claire, my brother-in-law's moving to Denver. Needs to sell his place in Beacon Hill fast, but he won't settle for less than top dollar." I told him, "You're the best." By noon I was touring a federal-style townhouse, 6 bedrooms, mahogany banisters, a garden that glowed in the autumn sun. "I'll do an exclusive open house," I told Hargrove's brother-in-law Mark. "Invite only, high rollers and industry insiders." He agreed, trusting me implicitly. I spent weeks planning a Michelin-starred caterer, a string quartet, lighting that turned the home into a jewel box. I handpicked the guest list, and when Hargrove mentioned Pinnacle's team might attend to scout it for a corporate retreat, my heart raced. This was it. The night of the open house, I arrived at 3 p.m., fine-tuning every detail in a charcoal-sheathed dress that radiated quiet power. By 6 o'clock, the house buzzed with Boston's elite bankers, developers, old-money heirs. I worked the crowd, tailoring every pitch, when a ripple in the air told me Eric had walked in. I turned, smile intact, and there he was, flanked by Lauren, both dressed to impress but out of their depth. "Eric, Lauren," I said, my tone polished. "Welcome to Beacon Hill." Eric's eyes narrowed, assessing me. "Claire, hosting a fancy open house? Didn't expect this." Lauren's smile was thin. "It's cute. Did you stage it yourself? You always loved playing decorator." "The owners furnished it," I said coolly, "but I had VY set on layout to highlight the bones. Enjoy the champagne dining rooms that way." Eric grabbed my wrist as I turned. "Seriously, Claire, I'm impressed. How'd you snag a listing like this?" "Peggy pulling strings." I slipped free, meeting his gaze. "No strings. It's a referral from a client. I've built my own network, Eric. 2 years of hard work." Lauren chimed in, "Sweet little gig. Though Eric says the market's tanking, tough for commissions now, right?" Before I could answer, Hargrove strode in, his presence commanding the room. "Claire," he called, we VYing through guests. "This is phenomenal. Mark's already got 3 offers pending." Eric's face went slack. Lauren's eyes widened. "Tom," I said, savoring the moment, "glad you're here. Have you met Eric Bennett? Your strategic acquisitions director." Hargrove turned, polite but detached. "Bennett, right? Good to see you. This is your wife." "Lauren," she said, too eager. "We loved your keynote at the Pinnacle retreat." He nodded distractedly, then faced me. "Claire, I need your take on that office space we're eyeing. After your magic with our house, I've got the board leaning on you for commercial input." Can you present at our strategy meeting next week? Eric's jaw dropped. I smiled. Happy to, Tom. I've got some data ready. We'll talk tomorrow. Perfect. Oh, and that restructuring finalizing it. Need your thoughts there, too. He clapped my shoulder and moved off. Leah vying Eric and Lauren gaping. Your ad vying Pinnacle? Eric asked, his voice tight. Tom values my perspective, I said breezily. You know how critical the right property is for a firm's future. He mentioned restructuring. Hope it doesn't shake up your team. Eric bristled. I'm indispensable in acquisitions. Of course, I said, layering on mock sympathy. But Tom's looking for fresh VY Shaun. Tough market for redundancies. Excuse Megwest's to tend. I walked away, their stares boring into me. The open house netted 7 offers, but the real prize was Eric's shattered smugness. He'd underestimated me, and now I held sway over his world. The next morning my phone rang. Claire, it's Eric. Can we grab coffee? Catch up. I smirked at his transparency. Sure. Café Nero, 1 o'clock. He was waiting when I arrived, tension etched into his posture. You've done well, he said after stilted small talk. I was hoping we could clear the air. Clear what? I asked, sipping my latte. I know you're tight with Hargrove. I've got a mid-market acquisition plan he's not sold on yet. If you pitched it, you want me to vouch for you? I cut in, incredulous. We were partners once, he pressed. You could sway him. I leaned back, studying the man who dismantled my life. Like you saw my worth when you said I'd never make it? Or when you took our home and left me with scraps? That was the divorce talking, he said quickly. I was wrong, okay? Look at you now. I stood, dropping cash on the table. I don't owe you a damn thing, Eric. Good luck. Days later, Hargrove and VY led me to lunch at the Union Club. Your seaport analysis sealed the deal, he said over steak. But I noticed friction with Bennett at the open house. History. We were married, I admitted. It's complicated. He nodded. His department's been slipping bad calls on properties. Restructuring's a chance to shift things. Any input? Here it was me shot to bury Eric. But as the words formed, I hesitated. Revenge had fueled me, but this felt empty. I can't judge him fairly, Tom. Too personal. Smart, he said, approvying. I respect that. That night he texted. Restructuring done. Bennett's days moved to suburban projects. Your restraint noted. Gala still on. I exhaled, a burden lifting. Eric's demotion was his own doing, not mine. 3 weeks later, I closed the Beacon Hill sale for $1.9 million over asking me career's pinnacle so far. The following Sunday, I toured a modest row house in Jamaica, plain cozy, mine alone. I'll take it, I told the agent, feeling the past slew off like dead skin. Revenge had driven me to rebuild, but the real win was this. I didn't need Eric's validation anymore. I'd forged my own worth, and that was sweeter than any retribution.